Obviously not the result you guys want. Just what did Washington do today to try to eliminate your guys' bats from other than the second inning?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the question.
What did Washington do to eliminate your guys' bats from the second inning and on, other than the ninth?
Well, I mean, they did a good job of commanding the strike zone. You know, their starter had good angle on the ball and kept the ball down, and he was living on the ground for the most part. You know, I mean, he was doing a nice job of throwing ground balls, and our pitchers, you know, our starting pitcher was up in the zone, and you know, when you're trying to throw fastballs or living in the top of the zone against good college hitters, you're going to have a tough time unless there's exceptional ride on the ball or something like that. And I don't know that Logan had that tonight.
Mercado today had his strikeout stuff. He was throwing hard, but he also struggled with control and with home runs. Just what do you kind of make of his overall outing?
Well, he was up in the zone, and that was clear, you know, and so when you're up in the zone, you're going to have a tougher time, you know, keeping the ball in the park or keeping the contact to a minimum. And as we saw Dylan, he was down in the zone, and when McShane came in, I thought he did a tremendous job, you know, throwing ground balls, and so you saw the tale of two pitching performances right there in the first two guys that we threw out there.
For Mercado, that second time he faced Morales on his second RBI double, just what went into keeping Mercado out there rather than bringing in McShane?
I mean, Logan, he's throwing on Friday nights for you, you know what I mean? And so you're giving a guy the confidence to say, hey, you know, you should be able to get this guy. If you're going to be throwing on Friday nights, then get after this guy and get this guy out. And so I think Coach Angier was, you know, trusting in a guy that's throwing in game one of a weekend and saying, you know, we're going to trust in you in a big spot.
And McShane, I know you mentioned that you thought threw really well. Just specifically, what did you see out of him that made you think that?
Well, he's done that now a few times in a row, and he's, you know, commanded his fastball, and it's got good movement on it. And he's thrown a really good slider and a really good changeup in there. I mean, he's just down in the zone with good sink and good run on the ball, and he's tough to hit. He's an uncomfortable at bat right now. His problem early in the year is when he was not throwing the ball over the plate with as much consistency, and he's obviously improved quite a bit. Credit to him and Coach Angier for the improvements, and you know, I was happy the way he threw the ball tonight.
For tomorrow, with Jackson Pace scheduled to start, just what are you hoping to see from him to not try to replicate this type of an outing?
9-inning complete game. That's what I expect to see out of him. So, no, I mean, I just want a good pitching performance to where he's commanding the ball and, you know, he's getting ahead of hitters and throwing multiple pitches for strikes, and that's usually a winning combination. And so that's what I would expect out of him.
With Logan, it seems like there's moments in his starts where he's just not really effectively wild. He's just wild, and he's walking a lot of guys, and he's striking out some guys sometimes too. But for Mercado, what is it going to take for him to throw strikes at a higher percentage rather than almost the 50-50 split that he had tonight?
Well, I'd have to check with Coach Angier on the, you know, how to fix it and all that kind of stuff. I'd leave that to him. I mean, I just know the basics are, you know, when you walk 8 guys, 6 of them score tonight, and that was a big difference in the ball game, you know. And so throwing the ball over the plate, throwing it down in the zone with good angle is the intent, and he wasn't doing that tonight. And obviously, it's back to the drawing board for him.
Did he just not have some feel for his off speed? It seemed like he kind of ditched his changeup pretty early in the game and went slider heavy for most right-handed guys.
I mean, he was throwing both his breaking ball and his slider and his change. He was throwing all of 4 pitches, but he wasn't commanding, you know, the off-speed pitch in the zone. And so when you're not commanding the off-speed pitch in the zone, a hitter can just sit back and kind of tee off on your fastball, and we saw that.
What's the process of flushing a loss like tonight where not a whole lot's going right? How is that different than flushing a loss that's maybe more of a more competitive, closer game?
Loss is a loss, you know. I mean, it counts as one loss. You know, I guess you're asking, are there harder losses or easier losses? I don't know the answer to that question, and I think it's a good question. You know, how do you flush a loss? And well, you try to be real with your team. You know, you don't want to lie to your team. You try to be real, and you know, when you get punched in the mouth, you let them know that's clearly what happened. I don't think that message fooled anybody out there in the huddle tonight. I think we all felt it, and you know, the challenge is what kind of pride do we have to get up off the mat and show up tomorrow and get after somebody. And so tonight's message, I think, is a pretty simple message. I think anybody in the crowd could have given that same message that I gave at the end of the ball game.